My Lords, it's a very great pleasure to follow the Noble Lord Seeker and to speak to offer the Green Group's support for the Noble Lord Hendy's excellent bill, and which he so clearly and powerfully outlined. I was standing in the very same spot yesterday afternoon, speaking in the debate on the £20 cut to universal credit. And of course, as many speakers highlighted in that debate, the majority of people affected by that are people who are in work. The fact is, we have created a legal framework in the UK in which work very often does not pay. Now, the Noble Lord Blencathra, in offering his, I'm sure, very welcome and perhaps slightly surprising support for this bill, pointed out anecdotes where he was seeing wages rising in response to a shortage of a supply of labour. That, of course, is true in some parts of the country for some kinds of jobs, but there are still many parts of the country where that is not the case, and where we see a situation where people are forced into any sort of job they can find at any sort of employment rate, any sort of wage rate. Now, in his introduction, the Noble Lord Hendy said a simple definition of a worker is a person who works for a living. And, of course, we have a society at the moment where people are forced to do that or starve, and we don't regulate that work to ensure that it gives people decent conditions. Did, of course, we have a universal basic income society that would give people the genuine choice about whether engaging in employment and on what terms, then we would be really changing the balance of power in that relationship on an individual basis, but that's not where we are. We have benefits that apply high levels of conditionality, and so people are forced into exploitative jobs. That's where we are now, and this bill would go some way towards addressing that situation. Of course, one of the other things that workers can do, sometimes under extreme difficulty, is organise and get together. And contemplating this bill, I was thinking back to various picket lines I've been on, particularly with the Independent Workers Union, the IWGB, with cycle couriers, who are the kind of people who have worked sometimes for decades for the same company under extremely insecure conditions. And back in 2015, I was on a picket line with some of them who hadn't seen their pay rise in 15 years. And I'm not talking about rises in real levels here. I am talking about pounds and pence. People paid the same money over 15 years and unable to rise it. And that's the situation we have now. And I also particularly want to focus on the construction industry, because I think both in your Lordship's House and the society in general, there's very little awareness of the extreme precarity and the forced fake self-employment circumstances that 60% of manual construction workers find themselves in. Now, my father was a builder. I know something about what life is like in the building trade. It's hard, it's still terribly dangerous, and I very much echo the comments of the Noble Lord Whitty about our utter failure to regulate so many aspects of employment, not just in, wages and conditions of employment. I also think the comments of the Right Reverend Prelate, the Bishop of St Albans, highlighted the way in which we've put so much pressure on workers to try and negotiate in conditions of extreme unequal power and knowledge and resources against their employers, being forced into situations. And finally, I want to pick up on the point from the Noble Lady Baroness Wheatcroft, who, as other peers have said, stressed how exploitative, unscrupulous companies then are advantaged against those who might want to or be doing the right thing. Of course, we are talking here about some of the largest companies in this land, large multinational companies who behave differently in other nations but exploit the workers of the UK.